first step, you should have 4 sheets of paper. You are going to fold each one in half. So line up your corners, use your bone folder on the flat side, make a crease, and that is 1 folded page. And 4. Okay. Next up, if you are using a wraparound fly sheet that you want to create a spine on the end like this, so you see that stripe of the fly sheet, you are going to take your long fly sheet, you are going to fold it so that it is close to the end, but leaving a tiny gap like so. Crease it with your bone folder, and then you're going to turn it over and slide your page back until you have a tiny gap again. And then crease. And once you have that, you can kind of scooch it and you should have a teeny tiny little spine on the end. Okay. All right. For the tortoiseshell binding, you are gonna find the punch guide that says tortoise on it, and you are gonna line it up with the left hand side of your front cover. Make sure that it's lined up really nicely. You are gonna mark at the end of each of the lines, like we've been doing for the other ones. 2, 3, 4. And then you're also gonna need to mark in each of these dots that are punched through the middle, okay? This is easier to do if you have a mechanical pencil. And you are going to end up with 12 marks, okay? Those ones could be a little bit darker. 1, 2. Okay, so now you can see that I have 4 sets of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to number them that way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, so yours should look like this when you are finished numbering them. For the tortoiseshell binding, you need to make sure that you've got your front and your back cover. Your front cover should be marked with all 12 dots. Your fly sheets, or 1 wraparound fly sheet, and your pages. You should have 4. Make sure that all of the folded edges are stacked up on the same side so that you can see all 4 of them, and they should be in your right hand. If you have a wraparound fly sheet, you are gonna stick it inside so that the spine is on the left and all of your French folded edges are on the right. If you have 2 individual fly sheets, you will just stack one on top and one underneath. You're gonna put your back cover underneath your stack, and then you're gonna put your cover on top. Make sure that all of your marks are on the left-hand side. So it should be with the spine and the marks on your left and the folded edges on your right. Then you're gonna give everything a good tap. Make sure it's all lined up, it's nice and square, and then you are going to binder clip on one at the top, just a little bit inside of where all of your marks are, and one at the bottom, also a little bit inside of where all of your marks are, because we don't want these to get in the way of binding. Grab your cutting mat and your awl and lay your book down on top, and then you are going to punch a hole with your awl on each of the dots that you've made. So you're going to do 12 in total. So start by lining it up with that dot and push straight down with a little bit of a wiggle. And then you're going to go through and you're going to do that for all 12 of your dots. Okay? You won't go all the way through on this stage. You're just making a nice deep mark so that we can figure out where it's going to come out on the back. Okay? Now that you've got all of your holes marked on the front, you should see some very small dots on the back, and you are going to pick your whole book up and push your awl through. So you're going to be pushing and doing like a twist and a wiggle, and make sure that your fingers are on either side of the hole that you're going to punch through, because you don't want to accidentally get yourself. Okay, so push nice and hard, a little bit at a time, and you want to push until about a 1/4 of an inch of the awl is coming through. You don't have to push it all the way, but you are going to do that until you have gone through all of your holes. To bind the tortoiseshell binding, you are going to need roughly 32 inches of thread. So the easiest way to measure this out, take the thread that you want and you are going to wrap it around the short side of your book with a little tail at the beginning. You're going to wrap it around 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It should look like you've got 4 lines on the front and 4 on the back. Give yourself a little bit extra and then trim that off. And you are going to thread this onto your needle. And leave just a small tail up by your needle about the width of your palm, just like with embroidery. The far end of your thread, so the one that is furthest away from your needle, you are going to turn your book over and you're going to clip this end of the thread under the bottom binder clip. Don't clip the very, very end. Give it a little bit of tail that's kind of sticking out to the side. And then give it a little tug to make sure it's going to stay in place. If it's snug, then you can lay those down and you are ready to bind. We are going to start in hole number 11, which down here at the bottom, these are in groups of 3. At this bottom group, it's the one that is closest to the binder clip, so it's poking out a little bit further. So we're going to go into hole number 11 from the back, and we're going to pull it all the way through. Because we're working with longer lengths of thread, there's more of a chance of it tangling up, so just go nice and slow as you pull it through each time to make sure that if it starts tangling, you can stop it before it turns into a knot. Okay, still on the back of our book, we're going to wrap the thread around the bottom of our book, and we're going to go into hole number 11 again. I like to kind of put one of my fingers through the loop of thread so that it helps avoid getting it tangled. Pull it nice and snug. Make sure it's going perpendicular to the side of your book. And then you're going to wrap the thread around the spine of your book and go into hole number 11 again. You can see mine trying to get all tangled up. Around the edge, pull it nice and flat. Okay. We are going to flip to the front of our book And from here, we are gonna go down to hole number 12. It's the very last one. So we're gonna go through and pull it flat. So it makes this nice diagonal stitch. And then we are going to wrap the thread around the spine of our book and go back into hole number 12 from the front. Okay, there we go. Once you've got that little diagonal and the wrap around the spine, you're gonna flip it to the back, and we are gonna go up to hole number 11 to fill in this diagonal line. So we're gonna go up to 11 on the back and, ooh, pulled through. There we go. If your thread is starting to get really tangly, you can lift your whole book up, kind of let your needle spin and unwind. All right, and then we are going to flip to the front, okay? We are not gonna be making a little line down to the bottom from this one. We're just moving up to number 10 from the front. And then we're gonna wrap the thread around the spine and go through hole number 10 again. Pull all the way through. And that is our first tortoise shell. Is this one right? Oh, is this one right here? Okay. On the back, we need to finish off this little diagonal. So we're gonna go back down to hole number 11. If it's getting too hard to push it through with your fingers, you can push the end of the needle, the eye end where the thread is, you can push that up against the table to help it come through a little bit more easily. All right, so that's how it should look on the back. And then we're gonna turn back to the front and we are gonna go up to hole number 8. We're gonna pull that nice and flat. We're gonna wrap around the spine and we're gonna go back into hole number 8. Okay, looking good. We're gonna flip to the back and we're gonna go down to hole number 9, so this empty one underneath. We're gonna pull it flat and then wrap it around the spine and go back into hole number 9. We're gonna flip to the front and we are gonna go from 9 up to 8 to fill in this diagonal. And again, if it's too hard to push through, you can use the table. All right, there we go. So we should have half of our tortoise shell on the front and on the back. We're gonna flip to the back. We're gonna go up to hole number 7, which is the closest one that's empty in this set of 3. We're gonna pull it through and pull it flat. We're gonna go around the spine and we're gonna go back in hole number 7, still from the back. Pull it nice and snug. You can move these if they look like they're a little bit crooked. And then turn to the front. And we need to fill in that gap between 7 and 8. So you're gonna go in 8 from the front, push it through. Woohoo. And pull it nice and flat. So now we should have 2 full tortoise shells, okay? We're gonna flip to the back and we're gonna go up to hole number 5. So the one that is furthest out in our next set. Go up and pull it flat. We're gonna wrap it around the spine and go back into hole number 5. Pull it nice and snug. And then we're gonna flip to the front. From 5, we're gonna go down to 6 and pull it flat. We're gonna go around the spine and back into 6, still from the front. Make that little loop. You can straighten it out. And then we're going to flip to the back and fill in the gap between 6 and 5. So we're going to go back up to 5, push it through, pull it flat. Okay. On the front, we're going to flip to the front and go up to hole number 4, pull it flat, wrap it around the spine and go into hole number 4 from the front, pull it nice and flat, and then we're going to flip to the back. You should have a gap between number 8 and number 5. That is intentional. Don't worry. We'll come back and get that at the end. So flip to the back. We need to fill in our little diagonal lines. We're going to go back down to number 5. We're going to push through and pull it flat. Okay. And then we've got our third tortoiseshell done. We're going to go up and do our final one. So we're going to go up to hole number 2 on the front. We're going to wrap it first around the spine and then go through hole number 2 again. We're going to wrap it around the top of the book and go into hole number 2. Give a little nudge if you need to. And then we're going to flip to the back. From here, we're going to go down to hole number 3, which is that one just underneath. Pull it flat. We're going to go around the spine and in hole number 3 from the back again. Okay, and then we're going to flip to the front. We're going to go back up to 2 to finish off that diagonal. Oh no. Little snag there. Okay. We're going to go to the back, flip to the back, go up to hole number 1, and we are only wrapping it around the spine. We are not wrapping it around the top of the book. So just around the spine. Pull it nice and snug. And then we're going to flip to the front, and we need to finish off the diagonal between 1 and 2. So push that into 2, pull it nice and flat. Okay. We're going to flip to the back, and we're going to fill in the gap between hole number 2 and hole number 5. So we're going to go down. We're making this straight line here. So down to 5. Whoop. Okay, flip to the front. We're going to go down from 5 to 8. Pull that through. And our front is done. So now on the back, we can take our needle off of our thread. You can unclip your binder clip. And then you are going to tie your 2 loose ends together. You can have a friend help you by holding the thread for you while you tie it, or you can do it by yourself. Just make sure that you get a nice tight knot so that your stitches will stay snug. Woohoo. All right, there we go. I suggest trimming your ends. If you really want to, you can tie these in a little bow, but mine are very uneven. So I'm going to trim mine. Make sure you don't trim them too close. I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch. And then I can take my second binder clip off. And all that is left to do is just to erase the little numbers on the front. And then you should write your name inside the back cover so that we know that it's yours.